Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hollywood Lot Life, where we explore the ins and outs of the elusive entertainment industry. If you've ever dreamed of working in Hollywood or making it as a studio executive, then this is the podcast for you. This show is brought to you both on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. So thank you for joining us today, and please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and any questions are in the comments section. Today we have one of my really good friends, Miriam. Miriam has some great experience working as an actress and a model and doing some really cool stuff. So, welcome to the show, Miriam.
Thank you.
So, Miriam, just to get to know you, where are you from? Where's your roots from?
I grew up in the suburbs of DC.
Okay. East Coast girl.
Yep, sort of.
Very
I
cool.
feel like I feel like my adulthood has been spent out here though. So,
When did you move to LA?
10 years ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good chunk of time.
yeah.
And what brought you out here? Was it just wanting to pursue the dream of the Hollywood life or what?
No, at the time when I moved here, I was pursuing an advertising career.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah, I had been out of school for a little over a year. I had got my first ad job in New York, and I just wanted to move to LA. I had wanted to move to LA ever since I was a little kid, um, but just my life took me to New York right after school, and I kind of had this feeling of like, no one's gonna bring you out here. You just have to decide to do it on your own. And I'm really glad I did because eventually I found a different path that I think has been really rewarding and maybe I'm much more suited for than advertising.
Was it creative? Like, what aspect of advertising were you going into?
I was yes, I did creative advertising. I'd actually started thinking that I was going to do more of like a management role. Um, but I feel like throughout my life, things kept pushing me to, I just like wanted, I just felt like I had like stories to tell and things that I could do if I actually like took a risk to do creative work. And yeah, so I couldn't like after I got into the program, things kind of pushed me into this like art world. So I worked as an art director for like 7 years right out of school.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
And then were you just kind of fed up with it, or how did you like see the writing on the wall? What kind of pushed you into acting?
So, working in advertising, I was making a lot of commercials.
Okay.
And yeah, so I spent my time, a lot of time in production on commercial sets. And I loved being in production. I did not love like anything else though. I I loved the creative part. So like after you get a brief, then you have to go come up with ideas. And I loved that part of the process. But then um it was actually like being on set that I found really like invigorating, and I love like the collaborative process of making something like that. And so I didn't know at the time that I like wanted to pursue acting. I honestly had no idea. But I did get to a point that I knew that advertising was not going to be it for me. I just felt like I'm a good worker. Like I have a really strong work ethic, but I felt like this is not like my major talent in life. I'm good enough because I can work, but I'm not good enough to make anything that I think that I'm gonna end up being proud of, in the long run. So I did a whole like it was a whole like quarter life crisis thing. What do I do? Where do I go from here? Luckily, advertising is like you can make a good living off of freelancing. So I didn't ever take like long-term stuff. A lot of times I would work in an agency, take a break for a little while, have an identity crisis, come back when I needed money. And throughout that, I was able to like explore some other things. And yeah, one day I just decided to take an acting class because I had this like wild imagination. I realized I thought a lot about things like stories were just always like in my head, and I thought a lot about like characters that their physicality was based on mine, and like I have a disability. um I can't walk very well, so I use a wheelchair probably like 80% of the time. And it just like got to me. I think like working in advertising and we were part of the casting process, and then the more I thought about like wanting to like, oh, maybe it'd be interesting to like get into film, I just thought a lot about like I never saw characters like myself. And why is that? Is it hard to, what are like, are the barriers of entry too high for people with disabilities? Why do you never see people like me? And that is really what like kind of piqued my interest in like, I'm just gonna take an acting class and see what's going on here. And I got really, really positive feedback, and it just felt like this feels like something really fun and worthwhile, and I'm gonna do it as long as like I don't feel any pushback, you know? And yeah, I did not expect it to go the way it did, but I just felt this, I don't know if this is like weird to say, but it kind of felt this like the universe like moving me in a direction of like doors just kept opening for me, you know? And like I feel like um yeah, I think the major thing was that I felt in my element more as an actor than I ever did as an art director. And that was like the indication.
Well, when you feel that momentum pushing you, you can't go against it. You have to just like go with the flow. I felt the same way when I first moved out to LA. I was like, it's like pushing me to be here and just, going that direction. So yeah, once you're on that path, you just go with it.
Yeah. Did you ever feel though, like, I mean, acknowledging that, like you're like this force is like moving you towards something. Did you ever think about like how many people try this business and don't make it? I feel like that was a thing that kind of hung over my head for a while, was like so many people are trying to become actors and aren't doing it.
Yeah,
How am I any different, you know?
exactly. Well, especially coming from your advantage point, like you said, you don't see yourself on the screen. So that seems to me that it might be even harder for you to, get those jobs that you're looking for.
Yeah, I think in addition to just like Hollywood being a hard industry to break into, there are actual physical barriers that just like when it comes to set accessibility and things that I don't know. I feel like a lot of people start out like doing background work or just like jobs that are they're physically demanding. There's a lot of um I don't know, even when it comes to just like having like Hollywood survival jobs, like waiting tables or bartending, things like that. I feel like there are just the options become more limited with a disability. And so it isn't like, yeah, you can just pick up any job to make this work. I feel like you've got to be really strategic. Um, and I mean, I've just gotten really lucky in finding good people to rep me, and I think I've just got a good team of support behind me.
That's amazing. So basically, you're working in advertising and then you're like, I want to just, be from behind the camera to in front of the camera. Did you go from, starting in commercials, or did you start, like you said, in background work? Where did you get your start? And then it just took off from there.
I don't know if it's taken off.
Hey, for me, from the outside world,
Um,
I think it's taking off.
I'd like to feel that way. Sometimes I do feel that way, but no, my very first thing I did, I did start doing background work, or at least, so I guess what most people do, you like get out here, you sign up with Central Casting. It's crazy. Because at the time it was still more of this like texting system. I've heard from like actors, pursuing this like earlier just in the 2000s, that it was the whole system of like you had to call a number every day to see if there was work. At the point that I joined, it was like they'd text you, but they still like the opportunities hardly ever came. But then finally, there was a show that I went to go work on. Accessibility was tricky, but for some reason they liked me. They kept calling me back. So I worked like a whole season on a TV show doing
What show
background
was
work.
that?
Um, it's on Hulu, Love Victor. Do you know it?
Ah, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I was 30 working as a high school student, as they do in Hollywood. Um, that
You've
was
got the
fun though.
one young looks.
I really enjoyed just like being around. Honestly, I love the people that you meet on a set. I feel like that's the funnest part of the job to me. Is just every day you can work with different people. But yeah, it was after that experience actually that I was trying to get an agent, and I got signed December 2019. And from there, I they started like getting me commercial print jobs, and then the world shut down 4 months later. And luckily, like I had other graphic design work, I had stuff to like keep me afloat. But then in the summer of 2021, I finally started like booking like commercial print work, and enough so much that I no longer had time to work my full-time job. And that's when it was like, okay, I guess now we do it. And I mean, it's a risk because all of this is like gig stuff. You never know if it's gonna happen again. So I feel like that's probably the scariest thing I've ever done was just this full like, okay, I think this is gonna be the last full-time job I work, and I don't have time for it. So I'm just gonna go with this. But like you said, like when you feel like something's pushing you to it, just like if I'm booking so much acting modeling work that I don't have time to do a desk job I don't want to do, then I should probably just let that go and like open myself up for more opportunities, like be available for more of this.
Well, I've definitely talked to a lot of people, and it's everyone says in the industry that it's like it's kind of scary not knowing what that next thing is. It's cool that you're on that show in the current present tense, but it's like it's good now, but who knows where I'll be 6 months from now.
Oh, totally. Like for that, the Love Victor thing specifically, I never worked the show again. Like that, well, they started filming season two during the beginning of the pandemic. And there's like a group text of a bunch of us who had worked background on the show. And of that text, like I think maybe one person got called back to work on the show for the second season. So
Really?
even something like that, where you're like, oh yeah, well, I was working background for a whole season of a TV show. Like, when they do season two, there's no guarantee they're going to use you. And it's just, I mean, and that I feel like background work is like the thing that you, unless you're on contract for series regulars and stuff like that, that's the only other thing that I feel like people do pretty consistently. So,
Wow, that's crazy. So, how did you find like so you got a management group and did they do all the bookings for you for that background work or did you have to still scout stuff yourself or how did that work?
so background work is all kind of done. There are like a few companies that manage casting background talent for productions. Central Casting is the biggest, and that's the thing that like I registered with personally. My agents, once I signed with my agency, they were basically like, keep your do background work if you want to. We're not going to get involved. So that's great. They're not going to take a cut of any of that. That's because I do it on my own. You also don't get paid a lot of money, so you don't want anyone taking that away from you. But um, the agency stuff, yeah, they would. So I would say there's only been like a handful of jobs. I still self-submit for projects. So there's casting sites that I'm on for, like, that's how my agents can submit me for things, but they have access to different projects than I do personally. So it's just like it's the general principle. Agents have more connections, they have more relationships, they have access, and that's like a big reason you want one is ASAP.
Mhm.
It's just they have access to more stuff than you would trying to do anything on your own. However, sometimes they don't get everything. They don't always see the same breakdowns that just any person who's registered with a casting site would. So I still self-submit for projects that I see, and I've booked like a handful of those too. So I feel like I do. I feel like it's really important to be working as hard or harder than your agents because like ultimately you're going to be the one in charge of your career, you know?
Totally. And so I've seen you in some awesome stuff, namely Starbucks and Victoria's Secret. How did you kind of get into Victoria's Secret of all places?
Oh, that was crazy. Um, at that point, so I consider myself so new to this. Like I have only been a working actor for, I would say, a year and a half, really.
Crazy.
Yeah, and one of the first projects I had done, um, after like the long pause of the beginning of the pandemic, when work started picking up again, I had done an Ulta project. And
Ah,
that
yes.
was so exciting to me because I have great hair, you know.
Look at the flow.
It's actually like been an obsession my whole life is that I have really great hair. And so to do an Ulta hair campaign specifically, I was just like, wow, this is the dream. You know, like I have made it. And like what comes next if you have already achieved your dreams, right?
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I had no idea at the time. I guess, you know, the further you get, the more you want to do. But the Ulta thing was, I think after that, my expectations, they actually kind of dropped because I was like, I already did the thing that I feel like I was meant to do as a model. I wasn't trying to be a model specifically, but now that I'm repped as doing commercial work and print modeling, so just go with it. I get the Ulta campaign. I feel like this is what I was made to do, and then I continued booking like other small modeling jobs. Like I did like American Express and I did Starbucks and I was doing these like print shoots and just like feel like, oh yeah, this is really good. Like I'm just gonna get kind of consistent work like this. And um the Victoria's Secret thing came in one day and I was in this, like, things were busy. I was doing a lot of like audition tapes and stuff. And so it was just like another thing I had to do. Feel like I got the email. My agent was like, "You interested in this?" And it was actually, she had forwarded an email from the casting director that the casting director was seeking someone specific. Like there's a girl who has done a lot more work than I have, who's a big like social media influencer, and it had mentioned her name, and it was like, "Hey, wondering if you have anyone that might fit this project. We were thinking this girl, but open to anyone else you might have." So just like seeing that email, I was excited to do it, but I also thought I'm not going to get it because I'm nothing like the girl that I knew that the casting director was looking for. Um, so I do the tape. It was like one of those like do the next day type of things, is like do it fast. And the process like just happened so quickly from there. My agent called me about they wanted to put me on a veil for the project. So that
What
would
does that
be,
mean?
it means they are one checking your availability for the shoot
Mm,
dates that they have, and then if you are available, you then are holding those dates for if you book.
that shoot.
I
Hmm.
think I think the process is if anything comes up, you have to, I think when you're on like first avail, I don't know all the specifics around how this works, but I just know that when you're on avail, you have to check with them before you book any other work. Like if your availability changes in that, you need to go to them and say, "Hey, I want to take this other thing." And then at that point, they can either like hurry up and book you, or they can say, "Okay, we can't book anyone yet. We'll like make note that you can't work." But the avail is a really, really good sign because it means somebody wants you, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and the way I've learned to process this all is like just because I worked in advertising and I know casting processes, there's usually only one job, you know? And you've got all these people that are trying to get one job. So if you get on a veil, it means that somebody in the room wanted you, and that's always a good thing. If you don't book the thing, there was only one job, you know? Which I kind of thought was the case with Victoria's Secret, was that like, oh, this is really good feedback that like somebody wants me in this thing. But at the end of the day, I just had it in my mind that like they wanted this one person and I was not like her. And then things I can't even tell you. I just got more and more information throughout the next couple of days of like my agent coming to me being like, "Hey, they need your contact info. There's no booking yet, but this is what happens before a booking. So I think there's going to be a booking, but I'll know I'll like we can't do anything until we know for sure." And I remember being at the dog park and I got the call from my agent and I was crying. I just
Wow.
because I didn't think it would happen. I not only did I not think it was going to happen, like that being the situation of, um, I knew they wanted somebody else, and I had thought like I just didn't think that my chances were super great. And so then to like when I did get it just became this bigger thing of like, wow, this has actually never happened in like the history of the world. And the
Wow.
more I like got into the project, so we like did the shoot and it was an amazing experience. But then afterwards, I was like in contact with the PR team because there was basically a brand campaign and kind of like a rebrand for the um, Victoria's Secret over the past few years. Like they had changed leadership. They were trying to rebrand. They were trying to put out like a more inclusive image, like a lot of
Yep.
brands are doing right now. But there was a lot of like critique around what they had tried to do before, and they hadn't quite reached it yet. And so this was kind of like the next big wave of like, okay, let's do this again. Let's like promote that this is for all women. And yeah, that's what happened.
Did you ever like pinch yourself and be like, I can't believe I'm doing this?
I don't to this day I still hardly believe I did it. Like I just don't even know what happened. I I think that I had this moment of like this is so big. This wasn't what I was trying to do here as like and like I'm here because I got this agent as an actor and now I'm like doing this like modeling thing. But I had this moment of just like this achieves the same purpose, I would say, that I'm like as an actor, why I'm like doing this and just like I think it's really, really important for people with disabilities to be getting visibility on a stage this big. And if I'm doing that just as a person living my life, then I think I think we're making a lot of progress that then is going to like bleed into actually like scripted TV and film where it's just going to become so much more common if brands are implementing this like inclusive image just put out in their advertising.
Totally. Well, you think about Coda winning the Academy Award for Best Picture.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's
And it was all
yeah.
centered around disability.
Yeah, that's huge. I want to I feel like right now, I was explaining this to someone the other day, and I feel like right now it's really important. I book roles that are usually like specified, like that the woman is a wheelchair user, this person has a disability, um, which is great. I feel like it's gotten me to a place like I would have never booked a Victoria's Secret job had that not been the case. Had they not been looking for someone with a physical disability like that, they would have never seen me. And I'm happy that brands and casting for like TV and film, like that's on their minds of just like we need to cast someone who looks like this. I think this phase is really important. I hope that in the next 5 years we move past um, these like descriptive casting like that, and that
It's
you're
just more
seeing
natural.
more you're seeing
Yeah.
disabled characters just that don't they're like nothing necessitates like them having a disability, like it isn't part of the plot, it's not
They're just
part
another
of
character.
this they're just living their life, you
Yeah.
know. But we're not there yet, and I do realize that my career has been elevated by and like special initiatives to do that, which I'm grateful for. it's just to me, it just says where we're at right now socially, like of this is new.
Exactly. And did you feel like the same way because you were on the show This Is Us? Did you feel the same
Hmm.
way when you were on that?
Yes, that this is us. That role I booked 100% because I am a wheelchair user and I also look Hispanic. So I think it was
Mhm.
just I looked like the family and I'm a wheelchair user. I really like all the I love that they did do like authentic casting, like casting disabled people to play disabled roles, I think is really important. And so I love that they did that. I also love that I'm so grateful that was my first TV show. And it was huge to do something so big so early in my career. Um, but like since then, yeah, I feel like you've got to, on the one hand, it's like it's so great that people are um that they're like paying attention to authentic casting being important. But on the other hand, like let's see disabled people doing things that like typically maybe you wouldn't expect or we don't see on TV.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. And was just TV like was that a dream come true or do you want to continue TV or is it like, this is nice, but this isn't for me?
I actually love TV. I've been thinking about it a lot recently, and I think like I I just love that we're in this stage of like so much content being created right now. And I think rather than I mean, a lot of my actor friends, they would want anything. But I think more so like back to your very first question about like rather than hitting it big on like a big movie franchise or just like a something that would an Oscar contending film, like I would love to just dabble in TV for a long time, like just getting different roles in different shows because every TV show has a different, um, just it's a different kind of character every time you enter a different TV universe. And I think that would be so fun. I think TV provides potential for longevity of an acting career. I think to me it feels like yeah, keep booking small roles rather than maybe like hit it big once. I think about this a lot with Victoria's Secret. That felt so big. And sometimes you come down from moments like that feeling like I'm never going to do anything that big again. Like you're only one of the first ones. After that,
Mhm.
then that's over. Um so then where do you go from that? And so I think for me it's been like focusing on like what provides longevity in this career. And I think TV is a great opportunity to just keep working.
Yeah, 100%. And it's longevity like you said. It's not a movie where you're on it for 9 months and then you're done. If you're on a successful TV show, you could be there for 9 years.
Yeah. Or the 20 plus Grey's Anatomy people.
Exactly. You never know how long you're going to be on a show.
Right.
Um, okay. So I guess my next segment on asking some questions would be like, what does your day to day look like as an actor or as an actress, like going throughout your job?
What is my day to day?
Is it like calling your
Well,
manager? Is it auditioning? Is it like, what does it look like?
um, I will usually, I feel like right now everything's so unexpected. There's like, there's no consistency to anything in my life. I feel like I have commercial auditions the most often. I feel like at least once a week I get a commercial audition of some sort. Um, my days usually are comprised of like I prioritize when I'm not working on something um, at the moment. I prioritize swimming just because I feel like it's the only thing I can control. Like it. I know that the pool is there every day, rather than like I don't know if I'm gonna get an audition. in a day. I don't know. I don't know if anything's coming up. Lately, I've been really busy. Um, and so it has been like I went straight from working on a multi-day commercial shoot to um, a TV project, and then it's just like continued to be like consistent like work for a while. Um, so yeah, those days it's pretty like like you don't know your call time until the night before. And so
Wow.
um yeah, they tell you never eat breakfast before you show up because they're gonna have food there.
Smart.
Um so yeah, the like work days I plan to do everything when I get to work. Because like you've basically at the level that I'm at, pretty much you've given a whole day to this production. You can't really say like, oh, can't come until 11. I got to be out by 4. You just have to spend the whole day just production schedule, you know.
Yep. And you just have to go with
Um,
their flow.
yeah, totally. But yeah, then that can leave I feel like after you've worked for a while, it can leave you a little bit like when a free day does open up, it's like, well, now what do I do when I'm not working? And I've gotten into this like system of like I send my laundry out, so I don't have laundry days. And what am I doing? But that's why I've prioritized like swimming is a thing that I try and do every day, work or not work, you know. So I feel like yeah, for myself, like I still self-submit. So it's going through like a typical day. I will go swimming. I will search the casting sites for any projects I could self-submit to. I have a lot of friends that I help with auditions, just like actor friends that we read for each other. So I always like make time for that, whatever. I feel like having a good like actor network is really important because then you have people that you can constantly be um, engaged with on acting stuff. Because even when you're not like working or like right now, I'm not in class, it's just not practical for me to be right now. And so you have to still do things that give you the same, like, give you opportunities to do character breakdowns and stuff, you know, got to keep just like, it's like daily exercises, you know? So I feel like in no real routine, those are the most important things for me of just like my own exercise, helping out my friends, and putting in the work that I can get jobs.
That's so fun. And when it's all chaos, you just got to focus on those one things that you can do every day.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So, what are some of like the best parts to you about working in the industry, as which we call Hollywood?
Um, I love meeting new people. But I feel like that is the highlight for me is that every project you do, what I think the best part is that you're constantly meeting new people. But then when you get to do a different project with someone that you've worked with previously, I think that's the best. It's so fun. Like I just worked on the TV show that I just worked on was that episode is being directed by a director that I worked with on a commercial like a year ago.
Small world.
And yeah, it's so I think it's so fun. And then just like different like crew people, like you go from like set to set and will be like, "Did you work on this thing? Like I remember seeing you from this project." And even just like actors, I did a little project with I had like one scene partner. It was so funny. We're supposed to be it was like a little industrial piece about like workplace harassment or something like that. And
Random.
so it was like you know like training videos they do in corporate
Mm-hmm.
settings, those
Mm-hmm.
kind of things. So we had done this project. It was a sort of like choose your own adventure type of thing. I think like in the format of the training they do like a this is how it shouldn't go, this is how it should go
Yep.
type of a thing.
Oh, I definitely remember those.
So so those are the glamorous acting jobs I get. I the okay, I actually this was a really good project. They paid really well. It was a SAG job. for industrial work. They all the actors. I love showing up in places that all the actors are actually like very legit. Like everyone's got great credits, but it's work. It's another day of work that you wouldn't have not doing anything. So that's who was there. My scene partner, him and we had this like kind of an argument. It was very passive aggressive because that's what happens in workplace harassment training videos. And uh we would like be it was really playful. We'd always make jokes between takes just about like what we wish we could have been saying in those moments, just like messing around. It was really fun. But then the guy showed up on a call sheet for a project I had done at the beginning of the year. And I was like, I think that was my scene partner from this other thing. And he showed up and he comes up to me when I'm in hair and makeup and he's like, I saw your name on the call sheet. And I was like, let's go.
That is
And
so
because that's
cool.
honestly, that's how it is. Just imagine, like, the big actors that we all know, like we see on TV and film and everything, and you hear them talk about like getting to work with previous co-stars like over and over again. It's like that, I feel like, at any stage of this career, of just getting to work with the same people like randomly throughout. It's so fun because it's not a regular job.
Well, and these are like friends you make on set, and then it's like going, you see them in camp or whatever during the summer at school, and
Mm.
then you go to school, and then you see them again at camp, and it's like, oh my gosh, we're best friends again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you drop total communication between projects and then you see them again, and it is like we've been hanging out forever.
Uh huh.
It's really fun.
Exactly. So those are all the highs. What are some of like the biggest struggles for you being in the industry?
Um, Definitely like the roller coaster process of work. Uh, it's it's the like almost there type of feelings, like things that generate really high highs, like when you get close to a project, when you get to audition for something big, when you get pinned for something, when you get just callbacks, all of that, and then how fast that all can come crashing down when it doesn't go anywhere. This is like a huge, just, I feel like the ability to withstand the rejection and keep going is a thing that is gonna I think it's gonna make the roller coaster seem a little less daunting. Because it's so hard to like come down from good things, like even just like working on projects and then not have work for a minute. I think emotionally, just like talking a lot with my actor friends, like that's the thing that across the board makes us all kind of like weary in our work, is just that like it's hard to enjoy the really good stuff when you don't know. Like it's hard to enjoy the fact like I got a callback for this thing and then like you don't hear anything. And so that was like the end. I've learned throughout this that just to separate the success of like those small moments with like they're not to like correlate the two of just like it's not a failure then to not book something that you had a callback for because the callback was the win, or just like getting to audition. You got to put your work in front of, people that you wouldn't have an opportunity to have before. But I think that that's, for me, that's been the hardest part of just, it kind of makes you not want, I feel like this is just like a bigger, like, mental health subject on its own, but you don't want to do big things because are you ever going to like measure up to it? Like it's the expectations of
Totally.
those like coming through or continuing. So in a way, it's kind of nice to just like, I'm just gonna hang back and not do anything super ambitious because then your life is always gonna be constant. But then you never get to experience the really
Those
great things,
highs.
you know?
Yeah.
It like the highs only come with the lows.
Yeah. You
So
wouldn't experience the
it's
high without that low.
yeah, it's a really, I think it's a hard lifestyle, but um I think having like a really great support system of like an acting community, people who are kind of like in it with you, who understand I think having like industry friends is super important. And just like if you have people that experience that too, it makes it feel less like it's just you, you know?
You're on your own kind of thing.
Hmm.
So that totally makes sense, with those lows. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who's going through those lows? Because we talk about how hard it is to make it in Hollywood. And what would you say to that person who's just trying to constantly knock on that door and it's not really getting them anywhere?
Um, what I love about the uncertainty of the business, and they say this to like a lot of a lot of the actor friends I have are a lot younger than me because I did have a previous career and I got into this a little bit later. So when they started training as an actor, I was in classes with very young people. And so I felt like it was a thing that kind of just came with like I was older, I was wiser. and, and a thing that I kind of like came to that I felt like I had a better I dealt with the nothingness, the rejection, just like the void of the unknown better than most people was I kind of felt this like I love uncertainty because I think that it produces what you cannot expect. And that being like, yeah, like you don't know if you're going to work again. You don't, and then those lows can just be like debilitating that way of just you're in a swell of uncertainty. But if there's that much uncertainty there, then it means that anything could happen. You're just imagining all like the worst things. But give room for like all the great things that you don't know are going to happen. Like Victoria's Secret, I never knew that that was going to come. You know, I never like training as an actor, I never thought I'm going to do this and then I'm going to book like this major campaign, you know, be on Fifth Avenue, all this stuff. I never knew any of that was going to happen. And like when it comes like This Is Us, I didn't audition for that. I had done an audition for I think it was probably Little America. There's a big casting company, Telsey, and I had done several audition tapes for some small roles for some other stuff that casting directors at Telsey were doing. And that's what got me This Is Us. And just like the TV role that I just worked, I didn't audition for that either. It's like putting stuff out there in the world that it's going to come back. And I just feel like you cannot guess what is going to happen in your career. You just keep, but you can keep working, you know, whatever that means to you. That's my major piece of advice is like, don't stop doing the work.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like I can totally relate with that through my own career. I feel like I got laid off during COVID and I was just applying for so many jobs. And if I would have heard that advice of just you never know what you're going to get. So you got to keep booking or you're not going to get anything.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then last question would be so 5 years from now, are you still acting? Where do you think you'll go? Or is this kind of like a temporary thing? What are your thoughts?
Right now, my dream is to create something of my own, but I would like to get my acting career like established. Like I would like to be working more regularly as an actor before I get to a place that I'm like, okay, this that I'm really like trying to push these other things. I'm not a multitasker, so it really is like a one thing at a time for me. And I love acting so much, and I love what I have been doing. I feel so much potential for. I think it's just good for the world to be out here doing this, increasing visibility. You have to have the mindset of like there are certain roles that I think just like the belief that like I was made to do those things, and that's why I want to keep like working on it just because I feel like there's still so much more for me. I can go further, you know. Um, but in 5 years, I hope to at least be starting to develop a show or just doing a project that I'm back in the position to like write the story, characters, like do all of that. I want to be back in that position one day, like where I was working in advertising, but in TV film, in the world where people pay to see stuff, not commercials that people
Yeah.
paid not to see.
People try to avoid to see. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I think that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So in 5 years, I'll be acting. I'm pretty sure.
That's incredible. Well, best of luck to you. And I
Thank
thank you
you.
for so much for your time for coming onto the show today. And we appreciate you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much, Jackson.
Yeah, and everybody, listening, if you have any questions for, Miriam, please put them in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to either the podcast or this YouTube channel. And I would really appreciate if you like it. And, if you really enjoy it, please tell your friends also. And I will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.